I'm building a rocket, been working so hard, getting ready to rock it, straight out of my backyard.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Talk B4T. I'm Jay, and it's great to have you here. B4T stands for Business for Transformation, and we're a bunch of wild and crazy people that start businesses in developing countries in order to generate wealth and make people's lives better. Now, I've done a couple of videos describing kind of my situation with B4T, what B4T really is. But I think there might be a disconnect. Is actually what good are you doing? I mean, what is this all about? So I want to tell a story about a situation I was in that just really solidifies my reasons for doing business for transformation. As I mentioned in one of my last videos, I used to run a language school in New Delhi, India. It was in a place in India where mostly Muslims lived. I would call it a poor area because it lacked infrastructure, but there really was some wealth back in that place. I've seen it referred to by the local people as the Muslim ghetto of New Delhi. And I guess that's kind of the best way to describe it to people who've never been there or have never experienced it. In one of my first classes, I had a girl. Her name was Tabassum. Tabassum was very energetic, 14 or 15-year-old girl. She only had a couple, what we would call suits. They're called suits there, that the women wear. She only had a couple of them, but she knew how to wear them and how to accessorize them. She was beautiful, and she was very spunky. When she was in my class, it added so much life, I can't even tell you how much life it added. And she was just brilliant, in my opinion. We usually took our admissions in 3-month increments. And so her 3 months was coming to a close, and she came into my office, sat down, and she said, "Sir," everyone called me sir, I'm not calling myself sir, that's what they called me, "Sir, my mother is not giving me money to renew my English lessons here." And she went into some colorful descriptions of her mother. Then she stopped, and she looked me in the eye, and she said, "Sir, would you come to my house and talk to my mother and convince her to let me take English lessons?" Now, the last thing I wanted to do was, as an American, to get involved in the home life of a conservative Muslim family and confer my values onto them. But I agreed to go with her. She was so excited. So we walked our way across the Muslim ghetto. She led me into a small sitting room, and I sat down, and Tabassum said, "I'm going to go get my mother, just wait here." Tabassum came back with a long face, sad, and said, "Sir, my mother doesn't want to talk to you. Nothing I can do can get her to come out." And what was I going to do? Charge into the bedroom and say, "Hey, you need to talk to me. Tabassum needs her English lessons." So I finished my tea, then I left. Losing Tabassum as a student was very sad for me. And I would see her on the street, and every once in a while I'd pass by her, and she would look at me and smile, and I would smile back at her and nod. It wasn't appropriate for her to talk to me. I was no longer her teacher, and to talk to a strange male on the street would have been an inappropriate cultural gesture. And I was very busy. My school was growing. I had a lot of other students. And so Tabassum moved to the back of my mind eventually. I would still see her on the street, but over the years, I would see her and smile, but she eventually stopped acknowledging me on the street and would no longer was smiling when I saw her, and her eyes were a little vacant when she looked at me. In the beginning, she was wearing her school uniform, but soon after she left Dynamic, she was no longer wearing her school uniform anymore, which meant she was no longer going to school. But again, I had a lot of other students, and I didn't think too much about Tabassum. Then one day, my office assistant came in and said to me, "Sir, do you remember Tabassum, one of our former students?" And I said, "Yeah, I remember Tabassum. I went to her house. I was going to talk to her mother, but her mother wouldn't meet with me." And my assistant said, "Well, she died yesterday. She killed herself." He said it so casual, so matter-of-factly, that it felt like a gunshot to my gut. And my assistant said, "Yeah, I met her mother in the market the other day. She said it was an accident, but she'd eaten rat poison." how do you accidentally eat rat poison? And I thought back through the times I saw her on the street and how happy she was when she was that dynamic, and how that happiness faded over time, and how she was looking at me with that hopeless look in her eye. Oh, I can't even tell you. For every Tabassum who ends her life, there are hundreds, thousands who do the same thing. The hopelessness of being condemned to a life without education when you have a mind that's craving knowledge. There's a book, it actually is a movie now on Netflix, which isn't a bad movie. Sometimes books don't turn into the right kind of movie, but this one did. It's called The White Tiger. And in the book, the main character, who is an uneducated driver, talks about people in India who are half-baked. He said there are people who get just enough knowledge to understand that they know nothing at all, and that there's more out there, and it's unattainable to them. And those half-baked people often become so desperate and lonely. So why did I do B4T? For Tabassum and all the girls like her. Why do I help other people do B4T? For Tabassum and others like her. And I'll leave you there. This is Jay for Talk B4T. See you next time.